What's up, everybody? Hey, welcome back to the Thursday Night Football Off the Bench pre-show. I'm Brandon Carney, normally joined by Madi Kroll. We're hoping to be able to get her in here in the next few minutes. Snowstorm knocked out her power. I completely understand the struggles that she's dealing with, although our snowstorm hasn't been quite as bad. I'm in the heart of Denver. It was negative 11 degrees this morning. As of right now, it is, in fact, negative 2. So, just hanging out in the negatives constantly. It's great. Little stormage out here. That's what happens when you live in the Midwest. But Broncos country, we continue to ride regardless. Guys, if you have any questions, fantasy football related, NFL related, honestly, a lot of these things are going to be impacted by weather as well. Let us know. That's what we're here for. We're here to answer these over the course of the next half hour leading into the game. So hit me, hit Maddie if she gets here. If not, listen, I got you guys covered. I promise we can do this. So first question from Brooks Thompson. Are the Eagles going to struggle without Hurts? So the Eagles are uniquely, whoa, voice crack, holy shit. The Eagles are uniquely positioned with sort of a backup quarterback that knows the Eagles system, which is nice. It's kind of like, the Cardinals going to Colt McCoy or even the Bills going to Case Keenum. It's a guy that's been around that knows the system, that you're not necessarily worried about how well he's going to be able to know the playbook, hold down the fort. I think they'll be okay. They're not going to be as explosive without Jalen Hurts. That just is what it is. That's not a surprise. But overall, I'm not that worried about Gardner Minshew, and I don't think this rules out an Eagles victory by any means. So I do think the Eagles can overcome this even in a huge game against the Cowboys. And look, I will say, if the Eagles manage to come out on top against the Cowboys with their backup quarterback, that does not look great for the Cowboys, a team that is struggling lately, barely beating the Texans and then losing to the Jaguars, who, in fairness, are a very solid team, and we're going to get to see them in action tonight. Tonight's game is going to have some awful weather. Jason Dorsey says, will Nick Foles do good against the Chargers? So another sort of veteran backup quarterback. Easy transition, too, from the Eagles to Nick Foles. So will Nick Foles do good against the Chargers? The Colts are in just such a bad spot right now that I don't think anybody's really going to revive this offense. I'm going to go ahead and say no. He can't be worse than Matt Ryan, I wouldn't think. So Matt Ryan obviously suffering that massive collapse against the Vikings. Granted, not entirely his fault, but not entirely not his fault either. I assume Nick Foles will be at least a slight upgrade from that. But it was funny with the Matt Ryan collapse. Somebody commented on a video and said, let me know when Matt Ryan plays defense in terms of the collapse, right? Like Matt Ryan's not the one allowing points. Hey, Maddie, what's up?
What's up?
Welcome. I see you got things going here. It doesn't look like you're on your phone. We were worried Maddie's going to have to do a little finagling to get on the phone here. So how's everything going with the storm?
We have a little bit of snow. How's it your way? Because you're just above me. Has it made it there yet?
Yeah, I was telling them. So it snowed here last night, overnight, and we woke up to negative 11 degree temperatures. But overall, the snow has kind of run its course a little bit. It's very much still stuck to the ground, but it's not. I don't think it's actively snowing right now.
I, for my brother's Christmas present, bought him a flight home, and guess what got canceled due to the snow?
Yeah, that's not a surprise, unfortunately. But yeah, we were just getting into a couple of questions. We had somebody ask if the Eagles were going to struggle without Hurts. I said yes, but ultimately I think Minshew can hold down the fort, and I don't think it precludes the Eagles from beating the Cowboys. I still think that's a possibility, although a lower one. And then will Nick Foles do well against the Chargers? I mean, I said it can't really be any worse than Matt Ryan, but overall it just feels like the Colts are kind of cooked.
You just threw Matty Ice under the bus.
I mean, look, this guy's been benched twice now by two different coaches. I feel like it's just kind of it's either over or this is just not the fit for him. And I was about to say, somebody commented on the video that, let me know when Matt Ryan starts playing defense. Like, oh, he wasn't the one that led up the comeback. I'm like, okay, well, they got out to this 33-0 lead, and it was largely off of 2 defensive touchdowns. Matt Ryan threw 1. And then in the second half, he led this offense to 3 points. It's his fault. Like, a lot of it is still his fault. I understand he's not out there, playing corner or anything, but he's not completely without blame either.
So you're saying Indy is going to be in for a quarterback next year?
Oh yeah. I feel like that's kind of been the way it's been trending for 6 years. Yeah, they've needed a quarterback every year since Andrew Luck retired, pretty much. So good luck, Indy. We'll see if you can find somebody, considering you aren't going to have a crazy high draft pick. Maybe you come out of it with Will Levis or something, but even then, not overly exciting. Do I risk Michael Carter tonight in case Nick Chubb is injured for my playoff matchup? Oh, boy.
This question actually has been popping up a lot. Not specifically Michael Carter, but just what do I do if Nick Chubb isn't ready to go? And these Saturday games make it even more difficult because you really have to figure out who you're playing earlier in the week.
Right. Now, Nick Chubb, I thought I had seen that he practiced. So Nick Chubb, as of right now, is not listed on the injury report for Week 16, is what I'm seeing. After 2 DNPs to start the week, Nick Chubb is off the injury report and good to go for Week 16. So he's going to play. I think it becomes a question of, so the weather in Cleveland is actually supposed to be even significantly worse than the weather tonight in the Jags-Jets game. I'm sticking with Chubb because at this point, if you've got 2 guys who are both dealing with questionable conditions and one of them is Nick Chubb, I'll take Nick Chubb. Michael Carter has basically been non-existent since his return from injury, with Bam Knight taking a lot of the work. And tonight's game, I'll be honest, I'm curious to see what the Jags look like because it seems like they're trending in a really, really great direction here, and Trevor Lawrence is finally getting some credit as one of the better QBs in the league. This game's going to be ugly.
This game's going to be ugly. They're also – Jags are down their left tackle, and that's going to make it even harder on Lawrence because he's a true pocket quarterback. He's not going to be able to navigate as well. And the last time he played in this weather, he fumbled twice.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that, Trevor Lawrence, it's funny, and I don't know if you feel the same way, Maddie. It feels like it popped up over the last 2 weeks. People are starting to legitimately put Trevor in like their top 6 or 7 quarterbacks. I've seen a lot of people do this.
Yes.
And it's like, it's been so sudden. It's like, I don't know if it's the last few games have just convinced people that this is where he is. Like they've realized kind of the leap that he's taken this year. But I also found out if you take total passing and rushing touchdowns for quarterbacks this year, Trevor Lawrence is 5th, and he's only behind Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, and Joe Burrow in terms of total touchdowns for quarterbacks. So it's deserved. It's deserved. It just feels out of nowhere. It was like Trevor was this kind of, wait and see. We'll see what he turns into. And now it's, he might be super elite, actually. So here we are.
Who knew Urban Meyer was the problem the whole time?
I really couldn't have guessed, Matty. It was just really fascinating. The guy that kicked his own kicker, and just, really stand-up guy, really qualified to be an NFL head coach. Question from Damien here. You think Minshew can get the W this week? They just need 1 win to clinch the first round bye. I mean, I'll be honest, if I'm picking the game, I'm probably not picking the Eagles to win this one with Minshew at quarterback. Really? But no, I think it's enough of a hit to them to where I will probably pick the Cowboys to take advantage of this. Because the other thing is, the Eagles aren't going to be able to catch the Cowboys off guard with the Minshew start. It's like they've had a week to prepare. They're probably preparing mostly for Minshew, even though Hurts hasn't been ruled out. So you can't completely throw that possibility away. But yeah, I'm going to go with the Cowboys in this one, assuming Minshew's the guy. Either way, I think the Eagles are going to get that 1 seed. It's just a matter of when. It might not be this week.
I slightly disagree. I think Minshew is going to get the dub this week. I think that the Jags really just exposed the Cowboys, and moving those linebackers laterally and horizontally, we realized that the Cowboys can't handle that. It's a huge hole in their defense, and the Cowboys aren't adaptable enough to turn that around in 1 week. Eagles are. Eagles are going to have a game plan. And even if they come at that offensive line hard, that offensive line is so good. I mean, your left side hasn't given up not even just not a sack, not a tackle, not anything. Like they can't even get off the edge. So I still think Minshew has this in the bag.
I'll say one thing about this game. I think it's a big Miles Sanders week. Because you don't have Jalen Hurts taking the rushing from him. Miles Sanders himself is coming off of a terrible week, so you've got the bounce-back narrative in itself. The O-line is obviously incredible, so fire up Miles Sanders in your DFS lineups. If you have him in season long and you're in the playoffs and debating about him because of the bad week, fire him up. I think he'll be just fine and could be a week winner or a league winner or whatever you want to call him. Question here from the boys says, hey, I'm a Ravens fan. I want to hear opinion on Lamar. I find myself liking him less and less. Okay, I'm curious what makes you like him less and less because, I understand maybe the frustration with just the Ravens offense on the whole and, the fact that he remains unsigned and we don't know where this is leading in the offseason. But ultimately, I do not hold any animosity toward Lamar Jackson for how the team is playing or his contract situation because a lot of that is out of his control. and now he's been hurt. The man's wide receiver 1 is Demarcus Robinson. We need to say more than that.
I was going to say, is it, or is it Mark Andrews?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go that route, it's absolutely Mark Andrews if we're going with that logic. But yeah, like his actual receiver, it's Demarcus Robinson, and that's really bad. And then he just lost Devin Duvernay, who cares regardless, but like even he's going down. It's like they signed Sammy Watkins. That's how desperate.
I was going to say, we're up to the point where they are now rostering Sammy Watkins, and he's probably going to start.
Right, and he's probably going to get significant playing time, so it's rough.
Yeah.
Question from Eric Kunkel says, Zeke or ETN this week? I'm also currently starting Pollard and CeeDee Lamb already. Okay, so if you were to go with Zeke, you'd be tripling up on Cowboys.
That's scary. I feel like ETN, everybody's sleeping on Philly's defensive front. It has significantly improved. They're now taking away the middle of the field. They're stopping the ball up front, so I personally would go ETN. Especially this weather.
Yeah,
you don't think so? Zeke
will
find the end zone. I mean, like that's what they do. They pump the ball down the field with Pollard and send Zeke into the end zone.
Right. If you could really guarantee that Zeke was going to find the end zone for sure, then you're going to go with him. And I think ETN has just been prone to these kind of lower performance weeks. The Jets are going to have Quinnen Williams back. And the thing is with the rain, and this always happens, is people assume rain means like running backs are going to pop off, right? Like that's what they assume. Rain just means both offenses as a whole are going to be dwindled. And yeah, they may lean on the run a little more, but it's still going to be a less efficient run game because it's just going to be gross conditions. So correct. I'm looking at Zeke right now, and he's got a touchdown streak of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games with at least one rushing touchdown.
Who's that, Zeke?
Yeah, it's Zeke. I think I'd lean Zeke here. I think I would. But it's tight. It's definitely tight. And in PPR league,
I just get stressed if he's starting CeeDee and Pollard.
I feel that, yeah, because you don't expect this team to like run it up on the Eagles defense at all. But
man, that's a tough question.
ETN just had 19 carries for 103 yards, right? Before that, though, 17 for 32, 13 for 54, and these were against the Lions and the Titans defenses. I don't know. This Jets defense, when it's fully healthy and rolling, is good. So I don't know. I don't feel great about Travis Etienne. I think I lean Zeke here just for the touchdown upside, even though you've already got so many Cowboys in there. So that's a tough one. Maybe flip a coin.
Good option. Good option. So
yeah. Damian said need a RB1 and a RB2 as well as a flex. Okay, so we're looking for 3 guys here out of these. I have Mixon, Connor, Dobbins, Pacheco, Swift. This is a non-PPR league. Mixon hasn't been playing well, and Arizona looks awful. Yeah, I would personally stay away from James Conner. He's not a guy I like all that much in general for fantasy. He feels like he's so touchdown dependent, and the touchdown opportunity has gone even significantly down from what it was. So Mixon is going to be against the Patriots defense. We got Dobbins, who's been surprisingly good. I did not expect this from J.K. Dobbins down the stretch coming off of an injury. I guess this whole knee cleanup situation he had worked because, his only 2 games since, 15 carries for 120 yards and a touchdown and 13 carries for 125. He's now going up against the Falcons.
They're giving him the design runs with extra protection, so he has the potential to just explode out. I like Dobbins.
Yeah, I'm gonna ride the hot hand with Dobbins for one of these picks. Pacheco is a tough one because of the emergence of Jerick McKinnon, who's been so good. But Pacheco's still getting a lot of work and is now going against the 31st ranked run defense of the Seattle Seahawks. I think I would ride with Pacheco as well. 15 carries for 86 yards last week, 13 for 70 the week before. Not super involved in the receiving game, but you don't care because you're not in PPR. So honestly, that makes it even a little easier. So I think I'd go Dobbins, Pacheco, and then we're down to Swift or Mixon. I'm going to find it probably kind of hard to bench Joe Mixon.
That's what I was thinking. As long as he's healthy, I would go Mixon.
Yeah, let's see. So Mixon's last 2 weeks, 14 for 96 against the Browns and then 11 for 21 against the Bucs. But we know the Bucs run D is, well, they didn't have Vita Vea though, so he didn't really have his excuse last week. Mixon's honestly been super inconsistent other than the game where he had 5 touchdowns. And it feels like that's kind of weighting his point total this year and giving him a lot of good grace when he doesn't necessarily deserve it. But Swift is a guy who's in such a timeshare that I don't know if I feel great about him in comparison. I think I just roll with Joe Mixon. I think the touchdown upside is there. Again, Swift would be a guy that if you were in PPR, I might have a different answer. But I think I'm going to go Mixon, Dobbins, and Pacheco here.
I agree with that. But wouldn't you say Mixon should be RB2? I don't think I put him in the flex spot.
Well, does it matter in this case, really? I mean, or
I
is
guess
it just
doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, we're just between 3 running backs here, 5 running backs here, and we're starting 3 of them. Just the rule with the flex is just whoever plays the latest, keep them in your flex so that you can swap out any position if you need to. It's a little fantasy big brain move if you can do it, because sometimes guys hurt themselves in pregame and you just never know. I saw a question pop up briefly. There it is from Jane. Dak or Geno? I'm going Geno.
I would say Geno too. And I think that we're going to see a lot of bombs down the way.
Yeah, so Geno's up against the Chiefs defense, game that
just non-existent.
A game that projects to be probably one of the higher scoring ones. Even though the Seahawks as a team and as an offense have been faltering a little bit lately, Geno's still been pretty good. Last week was uninspiring, but it was the 49ers deep. 14 points still from Geno. And then you look at the 3 weeks prior against the Panthers, 20 points, against the Rams, 22 points, and against the Raiders, 19. Other than that, Geno has pretty much hovered around 18, 19, 20-plus points for the last 7 weeks, other than the game against the Niners. I would go with him confidently rather than Dak against a tough Eagles defense. What's up, Jacob? Hey, guys, I'm back. Week 16. Who y'all got tonight, and what's the toughest game this week? Toughest game this week? I'm guessing I'm going to go with you mean like best game or toughest to predict. Who do we got tonight, though? We could start there.
It's going to be Jets-Jags tonight, which –
yeah. Jets-Jags tonight, I'm going with the Jags. I mean, I know missing Cam Robinson's tough. Missing Trayvon Walker on the other side of the ball is tough, but ultimately one of these teams is starting Zach Wilson and the other one's not. So I'm going with the Jags.
Cowboys-Eagles is probably the toughest, would you say?
Yeah,
most competitive. I don't know.
That really falls into all the categories, right? Toughest, most competitive, most interesting game of the week, even with Gardner Minshew. I'm looking up and down just for some other interesting games that are teams in playoff contention facing each other. Let's see. I mean, I want to be biased and say Bengals Patriots is interesting, but realistically, they should probably kind of roll over us a little bit.
Your boy Bill's been catching some heat this week.
Who has?
Your boy Bill.
Oh yeah, I mean, not a surprise with some of his decisions this year, mainly on the coaching staff.
Packers Dolphins should be okay. I think the Dolphins are going to tear up the Packers defense, but
Packers Dolphins is interesting with the Dolphins kind of reeling here. They're at home against the Packers. The Packers, though, in their own right, are going to be, as motivated as they've been all year. They are not out of the playoff hunt yet at 6-8. Every game's a must win for them at this point. So that'll definitely be a competitive game at the very least. So yeah,
I do like a Tua Tyreek stack this week for DFS though, because I think they're going to tear up Green Bay secondary.
That's a good call. I actually did make a little single game lineup tonight for the Jags Jets game. And yeah, so how in those lineups you have to have a captain for where to multiply their points. My captain is in fact the Jaguars defense. So fire it up. I think the lineup itself is Jags D, Trevor Lawrence, Zay Jones, Bam Knight, and someone else.
You're pretty much guaranteed a Zach Wilson interception tonight.
Right? I feel like that was the safest pick. And the thing is, the defenses are generally cheaper than everybody other than the low-end receivers or the low-end tight end. So I was like, screw it. I'll save some money here, fire them up as the captain. Hopefully we get a little Zach Wilson pick 6, and I will be big chilling. It's a very high stakes $1 tournament. So, very, very serious.
We're going to need an update on that.
Jacob said, also, 2 players should be added to the MVP race, Brock Purdy or Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, look. Both these guys deserve a lot of credit. Trevor Lawrence, unironically, I think will be deep in the MVP conversation next season.
I was going to say, you think so? Next season.
Yeah, not this year. I mean, look, the touchdown stat is interesting. You would think he's going to finish somewhere in the top 7, 8 or of odds at the very least. I know the voting doesn't go that deep, but I think he's more in the conversation than we realize. He has no legitimate chance to win it this year. Next year, we can talk. Brock Purdy. Look, man, I like Brock Purdy. He's impressed me, but ultimately, Maddie and I think, could run that 49ers offense from that quarterback spot. And again, we've talked about it before. It is the most low-pressure quarterback position in the entire league with all the weapons they put around, the game planning Shanahan does. You don't have to do a whole lot. You just have to not lose the game. I'm very impressed with Brock Purdy because of just the poise he's shown as a 7th-round rookie quarterback. That is hard to find. But overall, look, I'm not expecting him to be in any MVP conversations next year. Maybe he'll prove me wrong. Maybe he is the next Tom Brady. Who knows? We will see.
We'll see.
Noah says 7th seed for the AFC wild card. All right, so that's a good question. As of right now, I mean, we can just assume this is going to – well, I guess the three teams right now in the wild card – the 3 teams in the wild card right now are Ravens, Chargers, Dolphins. Mm-hmm. I feel like it just holds. I feel like that's what it is. Who's going to actually be the 7th seed? It just comes down to who has the tougher schedule down the stretch between the Dolphins and the Chargers. The Dolphins have the Packers, the Patriots, and the Jets. So that's basically the Packers, who don't really scare you, and then 2 teams that have good defenses with very suspect offenses. Then you've got the Chargers, who the rest of the way will face
Rams, Broncos, Chargers, and Colts.
Colts, Rams, Broncos. So I'm going to go with the Dolphins get the 7 because the Chargers schedule, man, cakewalk for the last few weeks. Chargers should go 3-0 here. I mean, if they struggle against this Broncos defense in the last week of the season, I wouldn't blame them, but I think otherwise it should be them in the 6, Dolphins in the 7, and then we'll get a little Dolphins versus who knows? It's either got to be the Bills, the Bengals, or the Chiefs in the first round, right? So
Bengals are getting hot at the right time too.
Yeah, so Dolphins are going to draw probably a tough playoff matchup regardless. Who's your pick for upset of the week? Oh boy, we're picking upsets. I don't want to pick upsets. I'm picking all the favorites so I don't look wrong. No, I'll go up and down and see. Let's see, based on point spreads.
I sneaky feel like the Seahawks could upset the Chiefs.
You think so? The Chiefs have been making games
like
interesting.
It could happen.
The Chiefs have been making games interesting that should not be interesting the past couple of weeks. So, struggling against the Broncos. Again, the defense is good, though, so you kind of understood it there. But then taking the Texans to OT, the Seahawks are probably the best overall team that they've played in the past 3 weeks, and the Chiefs have barely beaten those other 2 teams. So I could see that for sure. Let's see. Other games.
Upset I can really think of.
Yeah, I mean.
I also don't have access to the money lines right now because I didn't get my VPN up and running.
I'm just literally looking at ESPN's scores because they have the line right next to each game. Yeah, if you look, it's like shows the stadium, then it's like the ticket prices, and then it's the line. You know what I'm going to go with here? Sneaky potential upset. They're on too good of a winning streak. They've won too many games in a row that nobody's talking about. The 49ers, the Commanders, are going to upset the 49ers and just muddy up this NFC East even further. So I'm going to go with Commanders over Niners just to mix it up. I think that could be an interesting game. But yeah, the 49ers, I tweeted about this earlier in the week, are on just the quietest 7-game win streak of all time. I feel like nobody's talking about it. And I don't know if it's just because we expect it with how good their defense is, or if it's because we got distracted with the quarterback change midway through that winning streak. But yeah, they just haven't lost in like 2 months. So good for them. Question from Fire Dogs says, Panthers and playoffs. What do you think? So this is a matter of the NFC South being just an absolute dumpster fire. I think that sounds gross.
It does sound so gross.
They've got the Lions, the Bucks, and the Saints coming up. The Lions game, I mean, the Lions are playing incredibly inspired football. I don't expect them to lose that game. The Buccaneers, Panthers have already beaten them earlier this year. And then the Saints are pretty bad in their own right. Look, at this point, you're just kind of flipping a coin with who's going to win this division, right? Like the Bucks have a 1-game lead, I believe, and then you got 3 teams at 5-9. I think if I'm going to pick any team to come out of this division, I don't think I'm picking the Panthers. The fact that the Saints also have a playoff chance right now is wild.
It's wild. It's just
what
wild.
A disastrous season they've had. They're 1 game out of first place. But the Saints one of their upcoming games is the Eagles. So unless a 7-10 record is going to get you into the playoffs, we could probably mark that down as at least one of their losses. So outside of them, Falcons are dealing with the growing pains of a rookie quarterback. Lost to the Saints last week, have Ravens, Cardinals, Bucks coming up. I don't want to give the boring answer, but I feel like I'm giving the boring answer. The Bucks probably come away with this division, even though they are coming into the season as such a heavy favorite in the division. They've made it stupidly close, and they're going to end up winning it anyway, which is just annoying. If you're going to choke it away, just choke it away all the way and give us a little bit of chaos. Give us some Falcons or Saints or Panthers in the playoffs. But no, I don't expect the Panthers and Sam Darnold to get into the playoffs. If Sam Darnold is starting a playoff game this year, I don't know what I will do, because
how many assistant coaches are they down now? Is it 4? They fired 3. I think it's 4.
Yeah.
So you're down 4 assistant coaches. You've lost a quarterback, you lost your star running back, you lost a wide receiver, and a head coach.
You should just bring back Steve Smith to coach. He's not doing much now.
Shoot, sorry.
Question from Brooks says, does Hurts being hurt take away his MVP run? I don't think it takes it away completely. It's going to make a little dent, right? Because we are going so week to week with this MVP award. And if, Mahomes and or Burrow go out and toss 3-4 touchdowns, have a great game, recency bias as much as anything will kick in and probably bump those guys up. But no, it doesn't take away. I do think if he's ruled out for the rest of the regular season for some reason, that would probably kill it, unless Mahomes and Burrow play bad the rest of the way. But no, this one game does not change much in my opinion.
I agree. He's got that lock.
Let's see. Damian says, I need a QB1. Hurts was my QB1. All I have on the waiver wire is Carr, Goff, Minshew, Ryan, and Russell Wilson. Who is a good pickup this week? Whoa,
I would say Goff or Minshew.
Yeah, I feel like I'm going with Goff. Goff has played some really good football.
He really has, and that offensive line has stepped it up. They're in sync right now.
Broncos.
Yeah, and when Goff. No, we're not picking Russell.
We're not. Nobody's picking Russ. Nobody wants that.
We're not picking Russell. So Goff in fantasy the last 4 weeks. So Jets defense, he went for 14 previously. Vikings 26, Jaguars 21, and Bills 17. So this man has not, fun fact, thrown an interception since week 9 against the Packers. He's just playing good football. I think you probably feel the best about him as opposed to like Gardner Minshew. Derek Carr. Derek Carr is an okay option, but 2 weeks ago, this man went for 2.5 fantasy points against the Rams. I just don't know what's happening with Derek Carr. I feel a lot better riding the wave of momentum that the Lions are riding and just going with Jared Goff. I feel like he's a tier above the rest of those guys. And I wouldn't recommend starting Matt Ryan because the Colts aren't even doing that. So yeah. I noticed you listed his name there.
The Colts aren't even
Trey Williams says, everybody is praising Shanahan and Brock Purdy, but if anyone can play QB for the 49ers, why couldn't Trey Lance last season? I think it was just a matter of they had the luxury of letting a quarterback learn because their system is so quarterback friendly. Like, it's not friendly enough that if you are a nervous wreck, you're going to succeed in it. That's why we're so impressed by Brock Purdy, is because of the poise that he shows. I feel like the 49ers didn't think Lance would have that, and they were like, look, we have Jimmy. Like, we're going to just let Jimmy play and show him kind of the ropes of what it's like to sit behind a veteran quarterback. The other quarterbacks in that class just didn't really have that luxury. So I think that's why. I don't think it's an indictment of Trey Lance. I think Trey Lance's career is very much an unanswered question right now, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens and seeing if it happens in a different uniform, because we don't know at this point.
I will say, just the transition into the NFL, everything gets faster. So you really have to take a moment to get used to the tempo and get your rhythm there. He just didn't have that opportunity. Yeah, it's a very rookie thing.
Yeah, they had the luxury of sitting him down and sitting in behind a guy who the game's not going to be too fast for Jimmy G. Jimmy G does some dumb shit, but it's not because of the game being too fast.
And Bran, you brought this up. Brock Purdy was playing an incredible defense the entire year. So though he wasn't in a game, he was going against the 49ers defense week after week. So
yeah, as good of a preparation as you could possibly have.
Sorry for that cutout.
Oh, you're good. So Noah says, what do you think is McSorley's stats on Sunday? Yeah, so Colt McCoy is not going to be playing this week for the Cardinals. We've got Trace McSorley, internet darling quarterback. To be honest, this is probably not going to be pretty. Trace McSorley, as much of a meme as he is not very good in the NFL.
McSorley was botching handoffs to running backs when he was with the Ravens.
Yeah, so I'm trying to see when the last time is. Has Trace McSorley started an NFL game? I don't think he has.
I don't think he has.
I think he's just rocked a bunch in the preseason, so I feel like he's started a game, but in reality he hasn't. So he's had some mixed in action this season, just due to the Cardinals' injuries. He went 7 for 15 for 95 yards against the Broncos with 2 interceptions. 6 for 10 for 59 yards. Man, this poor guy against these defenses. He had the Niners after that. 6 for 10 for 59 yards with 1 interception against the Niners. And then 2 for 4 for 12 yards against the Chiefs. Stat line prediction. All right, I'll say he goes 17 for 36, 199 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. And then I'll say he runs one in. He can run one in. Screw it. I'll give Trace an okay fantasy day, I guess. I don't know how many points that turns out to, but it's not great. It's anchored by a rushing touchdown. I guess he'll be okay.
Yeah.
It'll be fun to see Trace out there. We don't see him, ever, but now he's got to go against the Bucs. So good luck, man. This is just another way of giving the Bucs this damn division.
Vita Vea is going to tear some people up this weekend.
Jason Dorsey says, when will Maddie make a special appearance on Bus Anonymous?
Damn, you're really just going to call me out like that, Jason?
I mean, look, if he ever has another bad game, or here's the thing, he hasn't been a huge consistent fantasy starter, but Maddie, you could play a great Trevor Lawrence. I'm just saying.
I really could.
I have the
hair.
I have a blonde wig that I tend to use if Trevor Lawrence makes an appearance. It's just Trevor Lawrence hasn't been started by enough fantasy teams this year for me to consider him a bust when he does play bad. Bust is all about, reality versus the expectation. So he hasn't really been there. But, over these next 2 weeks, look, again, he's getting this respect. Maybe we'll have a spot. We'll have to see.
I mean, maybe after a workout when my hair is super greasy, I could do a good Aaron Rodgers.
That's fair. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, honestly, if anybody's starting him in fantasy at this point, you are down horrendous as well.
I know how to throw a fit.
Fair. Miguel says, will the Patriots upset the Bengals?
I say no.
Cincinnati. It's nothing about the past, nothing about the future. Right now we're preparing for Cincinnati.
These voiceovers crack me up. I say no.
Pretty good.
I feel bad for the defense. Patriots defense is popping off. I just don't think the offense can do it.
Yeah, I don't either. This offense is in such shambles. I don't expect anything to change from last week. I haven't seen any change in the last several weeks from just the dysfunction that this offense has. Look, I think the Patriots have tried everything to kind of jumpstart this offense while keeping Matt Patricia around. And at a certain point, he's just capping everything they do. It's like they tried to mix in Marcus Jones, and it works for a couple plays. And he is a fun player. I love when he plays offense, but it's like that sort of trickery alone is not going to undo all of the nonsense that Matt Patricia has installed into this team. This offense is just not – I don't think it's going to keep pace with what might be the most explosive offense in football. It's at least one of them with the Bengals. So, no, that's probably not happening. But we're on to Cincinnati, and we'll see how it goes. We said the same thing about the Bucs almost happened. The Bucs upsetting the Bengals? Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the thing is the Bucs offense is in better shape than
and it's Tom Brady.
It's Tom Brady. Like, you never count him out. It's Tom Brady with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, and I understand that grouping has not, been as productive as we expected, but it's better than a grouping of Mac Jones, Devontae Parker, and Jacoby Myers, who just wants to throw the ball backwards 30 yards.
Saying a couple of laterals. Yeah,
so it's not great. Brooks says Bills or Patriots D. So Patriots D going against the Bengals doesn't really move the needle for me. No. And then the Bills D going against the Bears. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Bills D. I know the Patriots D is probably the more talented unit on paper right now, but the matchup, its defenses are literally all about matchups. I almost don't care what the defense itself is most of the time. It's just 100%.
Who are they playing? It's who are they playing?
Are they playing the more dysfunctional offense? And the Bears are. Justin Fields is great. They don't do much beyond him, so probably be able to turn the ball over a couple times and get you some points there. But look, we are about 10 minutes away from kickoff here from this rainy, disgusting Jaguars Jets game.
I see.
Snowy.
I thought you just meant outside.
Snowy.
Sorry.
No, not snowy in this game. I mean, look, if it freezes up a little bit, maybe it's snowy here. But no, this game is going to be gross. Number 1 pick versus number 2 pick. We will see how it shakes out. I assume Trevor Lawrence will get the better of Zach Wilson, but the way this season's gone, the Jets are probably going to win 45-0. So, Maddie, anything to say before we log off for the game?
I've got a lot of money on Zach Wilson interception tonight, so everybody fingers crossed. We don't have to hope too hard.
I'm about to take out Morgan and throw all the money on that as well. We are on to Cincinnati indeed. Look, wish my Patriots luck. We need it. We need to stay in this playoff race. even though we're not going to do anything even if we get to the playoffs. But we are done. Catch our podcast Tuesday. New episodes every Tuesday. We'll be back here for Thursday Night Football again next week, as always. But thank you guys for your questions. Again, we'll be here a week from now. So if you didn't get your question in this week, you can get it in next week. For Madi Kroll, I'm Brandon Carney, and we will see you guys next time.